so much for having me out here today. Thank you so much for your complimentary words. Now, I came out here today because I am worried, as I'm sure every single member of this audience is, that we are losing our freedoms, one by one, to big government. Remember, Ronald Reagan pointed out that our founding fathers here in this country brought about the only true revolution that has ever taken place in man's history. Every other revolution simply exchanged one set of rulers for another set of rulers. But only here did that little band of men so advance beyond their time that the world has never seen their like since, evolve the idea that you and I have within ourselves the God-given right and the ability to determine our own destiny. But freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they, in their lifetimes, must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free. President Reagan's words are as true and applicable today as they were then. We must preserve what is most precious to us: freedom. Freedom, as defined by the 1828 Webster's Dictionary, is a state of exemption from the power or control of another. Unless each and every one of us picks up and carries the torch of freedom into the future, it will be extinguished forever. Because each generation has to fight for, protect, and defend the freedom we have been given. We have the privilege and the duty to stand guard at the watchtower of liberty. As a nation, we have survived external attacks and internal attacks, but never before at the same time. However, right now, we are defending America from external enemies determined to destroy us and our way of life. And we are in a battle on our own homeland. We need to fight for the hearts and minds of our own American citizens. But how do we do this? How do we know what's right? Is there a standard that we can use or that we can go by? You bet there is. Our very own U.S. Constitution. Our Constitution promises that no free person would be enslaved by others. Our founding fathers used their knowledge and understanding of the history of the governments before them to create the most powerful document of freedom and security the world has ever seen. The Constitution unlocked our spirit and ingenuity. This allowed us freedom, the freedom to either prosper or to fail, depending on our own actions. The Constitution is the reason that mankind as a whole was able to accomplish more in the past 200 years than we had accomplished in the 5,000 years before that. It has even been said to have caused a 5,000-year leap. How else could we have gone from horse-drawn carriages to putting a man on the moon in less than 200 years, when mankind had never before made such dramatic advances? Think about that. A man on the moon. Mind-boggling. The explanation lies in one word: freedom. When man is free, we are free to imagine, invent, and create. In doing so, our founding fathers were willing to sacrifice their lives, fortunes, and sacred honors for our freedom. The Constitution created something extraordinary: a republic where the people are more powerful than the government. That bears repeating, where the people have more power than the government, even if today that is sometimes forgotten. For ours is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. How could these men have done this? Our founding fathers were influenced by many writers, philosophers, and pastors. Cleon Skousen, founder of the National Center for Constitutional Studies, researched hundreds of the founders' writings, and then distilled these writings into several common themes, or principles of liberty, which he then published in his book, The 5,000-Year Leap. Principle number 2 states that a free people cannot survive under our Constitution unless they remain virtuous and morally strong. It was commonly known that self-government cannot run under a corrupt society. As a matter of fact, Benjamin Franklin stated that only a virtuous people are capable of freedom. As nations become corrupt and vicious, they have more need of masters. George Washington also stated that we can only survive as long as there shall remain any virtue in the body of the people. Our founding fathers understood that the more immoral man becomes, the more government is needed in society. The more government that is established, the less liberty we have. Once people realize they have less liberty, the more they realize they want less government. At the heart of this vicious cycle is immorality. If we can just keep our country's morals strong, there would be no need for more intrusive government. Unfortunately, we find ourselves today in a moral crisis. How can this be? It all started in 1962. The first step took place. Prayer was removed from our schools. Second step was in 1963, when the Bible was removed from schools. Finally, to top it all off, in 1980, the 10 Commandments were removed as well. Slowly, we have seen the decline this effect has had in our schools. Teen pregnancies, school shootings, and bullying have all been on the rise since this time, just to name a few. What effect do we think the redefinition of marriage will have on our society? Hopefully, we will never find out. Remember, only virtuous people are capable of freedom. As the morality of the people breaks down, society falls. Or as Alexis de Tocqueville put it, America is great because she is good. If America ever ceases to be good, America will cease to be great. One of our founding fathers, Samuel Adams, said, "Let us remember that if we suffer tamely a lawless attack upon our liberty, we encourage it and involve others in our doom." It is a very serious consideration, which should deeply impress our minds that millions yet unborn may be the miserable sharers of the event. The liberty we are losing today is not ours. It belongs to the future. It belongs to the millions yet unborn. Our founders over and over pledged their lives, fortunes, and sacred honors to defend the liberty of those not yet born. But how are we treating those not yet born today? We don't even respect their most basic right, their right to life. On July 4th, 1806, Massachusetts Senator Daniel Webster asked the question, "Is our Constitution really worth preserving?" He answered, "Then guard it with your life. Guard it not only against open blows of violence, but also against those seeds of change. Miracles do not cluster, and what happened once in 6,000 years may never happen again." We must defend the miracle we were given. But what can we do? Remember, we have the best standard around, our Constitution. It can be applied to every situation, to every piece of legislation we should support or should not support. Take, for example, the HHS mandate of Obamacare, which threatens our religious liberty. We must not suffer tamely a lawless attack upon our liberty. We need to do everything we can to spread the word. Talk to your congressmen, neighbors, co-workers, anybody you come in contact with. We can do things like sign the Manhattan Declaration, which affirms the sanctity of every human life, that marriage is an institution between one man and one woman, and the inherent right of religious freedom for all, at ManhattanDeclaration.org. We need to get out and vote. How can we expect to elect virtuous leaders if virtuous people are not voting? Especially, talk to your children and teach them the principles that have made America great. For as Sir Winston Churchill said, if you will not fight for rights, when you can easily win without bloodshed, if you will not fight when your victory is sure and not too costly, then you may come to the moment when you will have to fight, with all the odds against you, and only a precarious chance of survival. There may even be a worse case. You may have to fight when there is no hope of victory, because it is better to perish than to live as slaves. We were founded as one nation under God. It is because we are that one nation under God that we have liberty and justice for all. Amen. I need your help to make us that one nation under God again. The founding fathers felt so strongly about the principle of freedom of religion that they inscribed it in the First Amendment of our Constitution. So, my fellow Americans, I ask you to please do one more thing. I ask you to pray. I ask you to pray for our nation and pray for each and every one of us to have the strength to stand for it. We must stand for those who can't defend themselves. We must stand for good. We must stand for all that is right and true. We must stand for liberty. We must stand for our good old red, white, and blue. We must stand